But are you really ready? You're telling me you're ready.
Where's
weren't we
Raven?
just weren't we just saying nice things about Rumble Studio too? That's a good question, Erica. I have not heard from him yet.
Oh, I got a notification. It's starting.
Really interesting. It's still waiting on my end. I hope that we don't end up live and I'm just talking away like la la.
It's
And
showing live on my end right now.
The real.
okay, I'm gonna refresh this page. So if I bounce out, bounce back in. I suppose here. This is
All right.
crazy. What is happening right now?
Technology.
There we go.
We're counting.
All right. After much ado, and of course, technical difficulties as usual, we are live. It looks like we're about a minute and 50 seconds in already. So, for everybody that's a little behind, we apologize for the wait. Tonight is a super duper exciting episode. We are getting closer to the Halloween season, and I thought, why not talk about out of body experiences and reoccurring dreams as opposed to your typical ghosts and ghouls and goblins. Tonight, we are having a very special panel. I have with me, of course, the
Alchemical
alchemical
transcendence.
transcendence. I always fuck it up.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. I just like to have unique names because everybody else has the same old name. Like, I don't know, like Super Wiccan, whatever. It's like, I want to be different.
Yeah, and you hit the top of the alphabetical order too, so it's always really easy to find your channel. I absolutely love it. Up top above me, we have the Ultra TTRPGer. How are you, sir?
Yo,
You can
I'm
find
doing
his
all right.
channel on Rumble and also on YouTube as well. And of course, we have Amanda Cox with us tonight, our lovely co-host. How are you tonight, Miss Amanda?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm so excited. We have one more waiting to hop in, and when they get here, we'll just plug them into the conversation. But I want to go ahead and get started because I know that we all want to share our experiences. But I want to start tonight with our friend on the West Coast. And Miss Erica has been sharing with us through the Gilded server a collection of her personal ideas and thoughts. And she shared a really unique picture with us the other day. And I'm very excited to get her take on what she kind of felt from this experience and how it ties into our discussion tonight and lead us off with a bang. So, Miss Erica, you want to take it away for us?
Yes, I do. Can you see me?
Yes.
Did the screen
Yes.
freeze up?
It did freeze up, but we could see you. You're not disappeared yet.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can get connection because I definitely want to talk to you about this because this is something I was totally not expecting. So hold on. I will be right back, okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, Hunter, do you want to explain a little bit about your experiences with OBEs or reoccurring dreams? What are we talking about tonight?
Yes. So the one that I can only the only one I've known, but I fully remember. It happened when I was 18. I can still remember like every detail about it to this day. So, and it's still fuzzy on if it was a dream or an actual like out of body experience because so I remember 18 years old, living with my parents at the time. I went to bed, fell asleep. Next thing I know, I wake up sitting on my parents' couch. And but I was like, how did I get here? But then it was also weird. Like, I'm like, but wait, aren't I still in bed? Because it's like I felt like there was part of me like not. I was like, I felt like I was there, but yet part of me was like still like back in the bed. And so I'm just sitting on the couch, like, how did I get here? And then I remember I looked towards my front door. And then this humanoid being actually phases through the door into my house. And you're going to have to bear with me as I try to describe this because I always kind of mess up a little bit. So again, it was humanoid, about maybe 6-7 feet tall, completely silver like a mirror. Like you could see your reflection on it. It had like no facial features, no like it was naked, but there was no like genitalia on it or anything. It was just completely like solid mirror like body, but still humanoid, hands, feet, fingers. And I remember it walked over to me, picked me up, and then all of a sudden we were suddenly in like a flash, I was outside the house in the middle of the street. Like this thing was like weirdly fast. And it sets me down. And there's other people there now in the middle of the street with me. And there are like two others just like it showed up. And they're like surrounding us. And you could tell, like, even though they had no eyes, they were watching us. And I could like, and it's like, there was like a handful of people. And I remember in this group I recognized, but everyone else was kind of weird. And next thing you know, there's this light that shines down on us. And so I look up and I see the light and then I'm back in my bed.
That's
And
very strange.
That is literally word for word exactly what happened. And I still remember that. That's every detail that I remember. Again, this happened when I was 18, and I still remember this vividly, especially the description of the alien, the angel. Because I've talked about before with like my spiritual Christian friends I've had, and they've said it was angels and stuff. So it's still kind of very unclear, like exactly what it was. But the fact that I can still remember to this day still means like this obviously means something. I just never like fully figured out like 100% like what.
That is really interesting. Did you have like any type of like feelings or like strong emotions or anything that like kind of gave you a perspective on like what to feel or how to interpret it in the moment?
Well, I definitely at first it was confusion because I was like, what the heck is going on? This feeling is not normal to me. And then then I remember when I got to the crowd and now there was like the one that carried me and then two others. So there's three of them circling around us. Again, all completely silver. I could literally see my reflection off of this being. That's how like clear and like solid it was. It was a confusion. Like it was like I was kind of like fearful. But then there was something about this thing that was almost kind of like a do not be afraid kind of feeling at the same time.
Right.
And then when the light shone up, it was like curiosity, I guess. It's like, it's kind of fuzzy on the feelings. I just remember the details of it mostly about like what happened, what was there, who it was kind of deal. So, but I mean, this, again, I was 18 years old when I remember having this. Here I am now almost 32. And I can still recall every single detail. So obviously, this stuck with me for some reason. This wasn't something I was supposed to forget. Amanda, you're muted, I think.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Amanda, unfortunately.
It shows you're muted.
Oh, there. How about that?
There you go. Haha.
Now I can hear you.
Now. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're dancing mining, right? What year was it that you turned 18? Just so I don't have to do the math here.
That would either no, I graduated from high school in 2011, so this would have been 2000. Probably it was either this would have been sometime in 2011 because I think I was already 18 when this happened.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I don't remember the time of year though. That's the only thing I don't remember is what time of year this happened.
2011. Yeah, that was kind of like a tumultuous time for the world too.
Yeah, we all thought it was going to end in 2012, and
mm-hmm.
the Mayan calendar business was hot commodity then.
Erica, what do you think? The beings or when you kind of like shift over and let's play with the idea that maybe it wasn't a dream, that maybe it was a real out of body experience. when you encounter other beings, have you had any encounters yourself with, anything really, human, non-human?
Oh, I basically have 3 experiences. So because in the downstairs of my house, the room that used to be my house is now my parents' room. And I
Mhm.
remembered like I was sleeping down in their bedroom all by myself a while back. It was like 3 years ago. And I was sleeping in my bed, right? And all of a sudden, well, when I say my bed, I'm saying my parents' bed. And I was sleeping, and then I heard a voice outside of my parents' door. Not the bedroom door, but the door that goes into the backyard. And the voice said, Erica, Erica,
Ugh.
I know you're in there. Why don't you come out and play? And I
Whoa.
knew it was not, I knew it was not human. It sounded like it was a malevolent entity talking to me, trying to lure me outside because I don't know what its intention was, but I was not going to go out that door. I was
Oh,
not
hell
going to
no.
get up. And I was just stuck in my bed and I was like frozen like a corpse because that's how scared I was.
Yeah.
And I did not get out of bed for 3 hours. Then I had to go to the bathroom because my bladder was like, okay, you need to release it. The entity's gone. Go to the bathroom. Don't ever sleep in that room again. And I'm like, no way, Jose.
So I
Huh.
guess, I guess it wasn't that bad then, huh, Hunter?
God, I immediately just had Silent Hill flashbacks going through my head, trying to, as you were describing this voice.
Okay.
Oh, and I got
Yeah,
a
now
second story.
that's
Oh,
another question. During your experiences, either both you, Eric, or you, the other, do they touch you? Do you interact with them physically, or they're just in your space like that? Like talking to you, or you can auditorily communicate in some kind of way, but you're not physically touching, or do they? Do they cross that line?
in my experience, I really haven't like heard a voice. It's all been more psychically connected. You get connotations, feelings, and that's why I'm kind of like really harping on like, what did you feel? Like, how were
Right.
you in the moment at the time, kind of interacting with these beings? And I love the contrast in the two. Hunter, you're just like, they were there and I just kind of did my thing and wham, I was right back where I started from. And Erica is like, they're actually calling me to come to them. And I kind of think back and I'm just like, I've not heard an actual voice, but I feel that calling internally. And that's even creepy too, because you put it in your own voice. So, like, Hunter, you heard the Silent Hill thing. I heard like it.
Right.
It looks like we're getting a raven as well, so that's exciting too. But Erica, go ahead with your next story.
So I went to Seal Beach, which is a city that is south from my city. I live in Long Beach, California, and then there's Seal Beach. I went down there by myself to go visit a friend of mine, and then I went back to my house on the bus, right? And I'm walking down my neighborhood, and then I see this shadow entity just growling and snarling, and it was a black shadow just walking towards me, and it was like, and I was so terrified. I did not want to see it. I did not want it to attack me. So I jolted like a bat out of hell when I saw it coming near me. It was a black shadow. I couldn't see it. I did not want to know what the fuck it was. So I jolted like a bat out of hell back to my house, and then I locked every door in the house and I went to bed because I was terrified.
Oh my goodness.
And keep in mind, it was at 10:30 at night.
That's not even that late, right? Raven, how are
Yeah.
you tonight, sir?
Not bad, not bad at all. Just wrapped up a game in Second Life, and time flies when you're having fun. Obviously,
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
earlier.
Well, you
Yeah,
hopped
same
in
here.
at
I
a
was
good
running a game
time.
earlier too.
We actually just got into Erica's second encounter with the Shadow Force, it sounds like. Now, I've heard a couple different stories about shadow people, and I'm actually really perplexed with the idea that this happened sounding like you were awake and you were walking down the street and you just seen it like in your peripheral or just dead on.
I mean, it was within my peripheral. I was walking down the street back to my house, and my house was like 2 neighborhoods down the street, and I saw it, and I did not want to be encountered with that thing. So I said, fuck that, and I ran. But I saw it. It was a black shadow. It sounded aggressive. I did not want to get attacked by it. And it's like, that sounds like a malevolent entity, and I don't want to touch it. So I said, fuck it, and I ran.
And
it was near a bunch of cars.
Raven, do you have any experiences with the shadow people? I know that sometimes that you could see them in your waking, hours, but yeah, I've heard
not directly. I do. When I lived down south, I knew people that would tell me stories, and these stories, a lot of them were the same. They only saw them kind of out of the periphery. The aggression, the like. It's almost like horror movies where you see that character and suddenly, and it's like right there, and people would experience that because a few of my friends who told me about that, they froze. They didn't know what to do, and now here's this thing, and they're scared to death to even look in its direction, but they could just kind of feel it like right around in here, and I'm like, what? Did they say anything? Were there any messages? Were there, what did you feel? They described some temperature drops. We're talking middle of summer. So a Louisiana August. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. That is pure misery. It's hot. It's humid. I mean, we're talking the wetlands and the Gulf Coast. So naturally, and they reported temperature would just plummet in this one spot, and then they would finally just start walking, and suddenly they could, they felt warm again. And those kinds of things, I never got to experience them directly, but I like, even moving out here in the Northeast, not a lot of supernatural experiences out here, except in a few spots where a friend of mine and I went hiking, and there, doom scrolling through YouTube Shorts, you'd find people that were hiking the exact same trail, and they'd encounter something. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. They're out there kind of late. He and I got there, well, kind of about morning before noon. And we spent the day walking out there, just getting lost, obviously. And by the time we got back, our feet are beat up. That's about the most experience. But I could definitely tell there were some spots along that trail, somewhere in those woods, that there's something going on. And oddly enough, it made me a little homesick. And I didn't really put the two together until I went back about over a year ago. And I've noticed there are a lot of really deep energy vortex points right where I used to live. I didn't even know it because I was so used to it. Going out there for the second time, now they're very, I can feel them. I'm sensitive to them. I can almost kind of reach out and touch them. The only problem is there are buildings built upon those vortex points. But you get close, you can touch that building, you feel it just coming off of it. It's pretty interesting stuff. But as far as direct experience, I don't have any. I don't know whether I should say unfortunately or fortunately.
Depends on who you are.
But I did watch something today. This might tie in a little bit. The Call Me Chris channel was talking about vampire cults, and she featured a guy I actually do know personally.
Wow.
Or knew at one time, and after a while, it started to get a little corny, so I just kind of turned it off. I was like, okay, this is like point and laugh at these people, I guess. I don't know. But, it starts out with people who are actually killers throughout history that committed these vampire-type crimes. And now, we're getting into sort of like just the modern-day groups that there are. And she focused on New Orleans, and I was like, oh, don't tell me this is where it's going. But, yeah, they're now New Orleans. lots and lots of energy hotspots. You can just take your pick. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to find at least 4 or 5 people within a couple of minutes who will tell me stories of shadow people down there.
Now,
Mm.
normally I hear a lot of it happening in the intermediate dream state, and I want to kind of ask Amanda a little bit about like the reoccurring dreams that she has. I know she has one in particular that she's told me about, and there wasn't any mention of shadow people, but it is a reoccurring feeling that she gets when she has the dream. And this is tied into the shadow people because they do harbor that feeling of kind of dread every time that they're spoken about. Now, like you said, whether it is direct, you see them during the day. And that's the thing I kind of want to ask about too, is like, what's the difference if there is a difference there or not? But the connotations of dread, Amanda, tell them a little bit about the dreadful reoccurring dream that we talked about a little bit in the past.
Refresh me again, because I've had some. We've talked about so many ones. Are we talking about the one with me in the ocean, or the one?
That's the one I
Okay,
had fresh in my mind. I thought that would
that's
be fresh
fine.
in yours too.
Yeah, no, yeah. When I have these type of, I call them in impact dreams. They're so lucid and so like vivid that I can recall them like I watched a movie or I read a book. So yeah, I won't have any trouble with the details. So yeah, basically, I live in the Gulf Coast now, Florida. And I have this dream, and the reoccurring part is not necessarily the parameters of the dream, but the feelings within the dream. So I'm at the ocean. I'm in about knee deep, thigh deep, and I'm feeling like on top of the world. I am facing the ocean with my back to the beach. The sun is going down. And as the sun sets, I realize that I am deeper than I should have been or thought I was. And I turn back toward the beach, and it is miles away. Like I am so way out, but I'm still like, it's like chest deep. And then the dawn of realization that, okay, it's now dusk. The sun is below the horizon. Sharks are in the water, and you are in the middle of this. There's that feeling of losing control and not being, not thinking that you have the power that you thought you had, like having that removed from you, like a humbling experience. And so, yeah, so in that moment, nothing traumatic happens in that dream. It is usually at that point that I wake up. But it is one of those types that, I mean, it's like wake up, you sit up and you don't want to just go roll back over and go to sleep because you don't want to fall back into that feeling. You start to psychoanalyze yourself too. Like, what are you, is this a message? Am I getting into something thinking that I'm more powerful than I really am? And then, being humbled by that experience. Obviously down here in the South, we have lots of sayings, and one of them is never turn your back on the water. So it's really strange that in that dream, again, I was facing the ocean, feeling confident. And then as my environment changed, I realized that I was not the leader that I thought I was going to be, or that I wasn't as in control, that really I was susceptible to my environment, and it could overtake me if it wanted to. I've had, and the reoccurring dreams as far as like that same theme as as a little kid, I had one about bears. We lived in the woods of Central Florida, and back in the 80s, it really was woods. It was orange groves and woods. And so even though Florida doesn't have a population of brown bears, in my dream, my sister and I were in our front yard playing on a swing that my dad had fashioned, and 2 little brown bear cubs come toddling out of the forest. And of course, we think that's just amazing, especially my sister. She's just like, oh, look. She's like wanting to touch them. And I'm like, run. You've got to run. We've got to go. Mama is in pursuit. And no sooner did I say those words or that intention was put out there. We were running toward the house. Mother Bear was chasing us to the door, barely wanting to get inside, close that door. The bear was like on its hind legs, looking in through all the windows, trying to figure out how to get in. And again, it was one of those where we felt confident in the beginning, or I at least felt confident at the beginning of the dream. Everything was doing fine. I was the master of my environment. And then quickly, nature was like, no, I'm still in charge. And I will dictate what you do.
I think
so those are two prime examples.
Yeah, I think it ties in, like a lot of people wouldn't understand how those two concepts tie in together. But even in like going back to Hunter's story, you started out kind of like knowing the environment. You saw where you were. Everything was cool until you were like, well, wait a second. Wasn't I just sleeping? Wasn't I just doing something else? And Erica, I mean, you're right in the middle of your day doing your own thing and it just sneaks up on you. And I'm with you, Raven. Every time I've heard this story, it's like on repeat. It's the same story, just told by a different person.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, how long until coincidence becomes mathematically impossible?
truth.
Mhm.
Very true.
You
Right.
don't I mean, in certain states like Texas, it only takes 3 credible eyewitnesses to send you to death row.
Mm,
That's it. And
scary.
why then
No.
are
Wow.
we so quick to dismiss hundreds of thousands of stories that have not changed one bit? They have the exact same elements. They have many of the very same experiences.
Right.
I don't get it. I
Hmm.
really don't. It's like in Texas, it only takes 3 people to kill you, but nationwide, we can't get any. We can't get any serious investigation to this one way or the other. It's
Well,
maddening, actually.
interestingly enough, in my case specifically, pride is one of the things that I struggle with. So yeah, I tend to get a little self-inflated. I'm a Virgo. So I think that being humbled is one of those like life lessons that like when I feel like I'm feeling myself a little too much, that even my subconscious checks me and was
Right.
and is like, girlfriend, you're not all that you think you are. And you need to make sure that you speak with humility, and take that. Don't get the idea that you're going to be so much wiser than everybody else, because the natural tendencies. Yeah, I'm guilty.
Right. Erica, you have one more story for us, I think. You said you had 3 in particular, right? Off the top of your head.
Now this is the third one that I recall, and this happened to me recently. So 2 days ago, I was basically in my bed sleeping, right? And then I basically open up the blinds because there's like a window that's like right across from me, right? And I open up the blinds when I wake up in the morning because it's one of my habits that I close all my blinds, and then when the daytime comes up, I open them up. I'm not kidding you. I saw 2 eyes with tears. Do you remember that picture I sent you, Georgia? Like the
Yes,
2
ma'am.
eyes with the tears in the window?
I
It
was
just
looking
freaked
at
me
that.
out.
Yeah, I was
And I
hoping
was
you'd
thinking
bring that
myself,
up.
Yeah, and it was freaky.
That just reminded me of no, okay, so it's not a that just literally reminded me, so it's not a freaky, it's not a folklore thing I remember, but literally if you're familiar with the SCP archives things, it's this whole fan-made database that people have made just about random stuff. Well, one of those SCPs is literally about a pair of floating eyes that just look through windows, and the people who saw it like died after like a few days of seeing it.
Oh,
no.
And this is the story. I don't remember the full story behind it, but as soon as I heard floating eyes, I just remembered that right off the bat. Yep, Raven's got the right idea there.
Erica, I'll be there in a few days. Damn.
We're doing the protection circle immediately hereafter.
Yeah,
We're not
we'll
letting
do
this
that. That's a
happen.
little more immediate. Erica's
Sorry,
playing
I'm not trying to bring the bad mojo to the video. I'm sorry.
Halloween Hunter.
Oh my god! I was actually going to say I was looking at the picture and I zoomed in really, really close, and I'm looking at the shapes of the eye drops on the window, and one looked like an axe and the other looked like a blade. And I was just thinking to myself, like, that's really wild that when you zoom in, you can kind of see that there are two different weapons there as well. So I don't know.
I thought you were going to say there was a hammer and a sickle in the eyes. I was like, they're kami eyes. Get them.
Right?
No, that would be believable.
Look, it's bad enough Antifa is like, more communist, but that's not really my problem with them. My problem is they keep raiding my laundry, motherfuckers. Stop it.
So that's where my missing sock is always disappearing too. No, but something else I thought of, and the reason I had disabled my video was because I started thinking about this because I'm big on the folklore stuff, and this is actually a podcast list too. It's called Freaky Folklore, and this is a book just full of, like, you got the skinwalkers, you got the wendigos, and it covers like a majority. Not the podcast; it's more extensive than the actual book is. This is like the more popular stuff that people like, but I mean. So I have autism, and and because of that autism, I'm so much dead setter on like hard fact details. Like, this is a computer that you need to plug in to make it work. This is a chair. Someone has to make this. But it also makes me question everything at the same time. So when I listen to stuff like this, and I hear like little details in there, part of me just goes, that sounds like it may be true.
But now that we know these things, we can prevent things. I'm a big believer that you're shown things in order to either learn or prevent them. So like deja vu, and when you talk about like reoccurring dreams and deja vu and things like that, I always change it. People tell me I'm weird, right? Because I know what I'm supposed to do. I just do the opposite and make it a point to do the opposite.
Well, Georgia, Mike Tyson had a great quote for that. He said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's true.
We can study just about anything academically. I mean, I've got a ton of books over there on my shelf I have not been able to read yet. But the stuff I have been able to read, it's like I know that, but when I'm in that one recurring nightmare I've had since I was about like 9 or 10 years old, it all just leaves my brain for some reason. So again, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and then it's like all your mental faculties, all the academic study you've done just goes fuck it and leaves.
It's got fight or flight reflex.
Yeah, something that I've noticed just within our little conversation here, a common thread that I can see is that each of our experiences move from something that is reality or natural to supernatural. So like, walking, there's nothing necessarily supernatural about walking home. There's nothing necessarily supernatural about opening up the blinds, something that's very habitual for me, going to the beach or playing as a kid, things that were actual, like evidentially experiential. And then moving into something that is foreign or unreal or, dangerous. And, that's an interesting thread. I think that there is, if we're talking about maybe being open to learning some kind of a lesson or being told a message, that it's some kind of there's a supernatural link there where it's not like, hey, just remember to tie your shoes.
Right.
What
were you saying, Erica?
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but this is more like what I got to say about my story. So, because about like the story about like when I was talking about like the eyes with the tears and whatever. So one of my friends that I befriended on Telegram, but I found him on Instagram, he basically lives in North Italy, right? And he's like half Greek and half Icelandic, but his cancer came back because he has leukemia, and for a while it basically was on remission when he was 7 years old, but now it comes back. So I feel to myself, he is indirectly communicating to me that he's in pain, but he's worried for me because he doesn't want anything bad to happen to me, because we're both Scyther practitioners. He's a Scyther mother, but I'm a Scyther Kona. And I feel like he was indirectly communicating to me through the window. But I also can tell you, recently I've been seeing more like black crows like flying over my house, because like near my house there's like a palm tree, then a jacaranda, and I've seen those they're not ravens, but they're crows flying around. And in like the palm fronds, I've seen the Thorisas rune. I saw the Wanjo rune, and I've even saw the Lagus rune.
Wow.
And I feel like in a weird way, like the gods and goddesses are communicating with me too. Like they're trying to tell me that please be on your toes. Don't get careless. Don't get reckless. And when you were talking about the fact, Georgia, that you saw on the eyes about like the axe and what was the other weapon?
I think it looked like a big knife, like a big butcher knife.
I think in a weird way, that was my friend's indirect way of saying he's going to protect me, but he's warning me to take care of myself and get to defend myself on the spiritual realm if something bad happens. That's how I saw it.
I think that's actually pretty accurate. I wasn't even thinking anything vicious or malicious. It did seem very protective because the handles are so long, but the blades themselves are so small. So it's almost like there's more there to hold than there is to attack. So more like a threat.
karambit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Karambits tend to have long handles with a loop at the end, and they have this kind of short curved blade, and those things are absolutely lethal. If I see someone with those, guys, I know I worked in a prison. I know I've been beaten up during the Satanic Panic and all that, and I know I got the scars to prove it, but I am not facing somebody with a karambit. That is not happening. I'm out of there. If he comes in my house, he just owns the house. I don't care. I'm gone. Unless I got a shotgun, then I stand a fighting chance. Because when he moves with me, kaboom, collapse.
That seems a little bit more on par with what you're feeling, though, Erica, because we all kind of came up with our own ideas on the back end, but your immediate connection was with the communication with your friend. So like Amanda said, that's a really strong thread that we're all kind of seeing, is that this also does a lot of communicating. Do you have any other experiences that anybody wants to share? Any more reoccurring dreams or what they think of out of body experiences before I get into my story?
I've got one. It's this is the recurring nightmare I've had since I was about 9, and it gets a little more intense. The weird part is, I'm literally running through the woods. It's night. The only thing illuminating them is the moon, and I just hear. It sounds like trees cracking and falling over, and I'm seeing like just on the sides here, trees are just falling over left and right, and I'm like, what is doing this? But all I know is I have got to run. It feels like my veins are pumping battery acid. So I'm running, and I just look back. And right behind me is this massive thing on this massive horse. He's got a sword, and he is using them to cut trees out of his horse's way. That alone is like scary enough. So I'm like, okay, if I get up one of these trees, the tree goes down, I've got a nice lead, and I could just hit the ground running. I could hook and buck. I start up one of these trees, and then I find out I can't move. I can't get any further up this tree. I let go of the tree. I'm not coming off the tree. And I'm like, what is going on? Finally, I drop. When I drop, I realize this dude has pinned me to a tree with his sword. And the blade on this thing is like at least like 2 of my hands put together if I can get my camera to work again. He's like garbage. But,
We like to see your face.
there it is. It's about this wide, like no kidding. And I'm covering, the wound from the front with one hand, and I've got my other arm behind me trying to find where that one is. And this thing, all I can see is that blade just drop into the ground. And I'm leaned up against this tree. This thing steps off its horse, pulls off its helmet. It is wearing my face.
Oh.
And then it takes
What the
that sword
hell?
and it picks it up and it swings. I wake up in a cold sweat when that blade is like halfway through my neck.
Oh,
It's one I can't make sense of. It's one I've long since kind of given up trying to make sense of it. And it still occurs to this day. Thankfully, this stuff right here kind of prevents that. So I've been doing it for several months. I've been actually getting some really good sleep. And
that is good.
that way I don't have it. But it's kind of it when it does surface, it is one of the most disturbing things that comes out of my head. And I can't even begin to tell why this particular one has been occurring for the last 35 years or more. It's crazy. It's been almost 40 years. You think this thing would bugger off by now.
Do you mind if I say something? Because I have some that actually made me thinking. So when you said that he took off his helmet and you saw it was your face, that made me think of something that I had a pastor from my church tell me one time. And I always remember this. He said, sometimes your worst enemy is the one that's in me. And when you say that it was your face, it makes me think of how sometimes we can be our own worst enemies. And this is me saying this. I have a lot of respect for you. Like when I hear you talk, and when I listen to you, you like radiate strength. Like I can just hear it in your voice when you talk. Sometimes you're a really cool dude. I enjoy talking to you, and I can hear that strength radiating from you when you talk and you share. But that's also can be a blessing and a curse in of itself. Like our own strength can always be used against us. And from my point of view, when I think about it, that sounds like it's trying to give you like a daily warning, like kind of like keep yourself in check, always be humble, be thankful for what you have, or else you'll be your own downfall. That's how I would interpret it. This is just my opinion on it.
It's valid. Definitely valid. I have had to tell myself to get out of my own damn way a couple of times. And interestingly enough, today's tarot card, the devil in reverse, kicking bad habits, getting out of the crap that's holding you back. I'm sitting there and I drew this card. And when I saw it was in reverse, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, cool. That one's going up on the altar, definitely. And, thanks to Lady Adnor, who recommended I do this as a daily thing. But when I saw it was in reverse, I was like, that's probably the best news. Plus, paired with the rune of the week, which was Berkano. You have to break out of those kinds of things. Otherwise, you're never going to grow. And what happens if you stop growing? It's like, unlike corporations, we can experience perpetual growth.
Yeah,
they really.
Your last two tarot card pulls you've done the last 2 days, especially with the shit I've been dealing with on X, which I know George has seen, I'm pretty sure you have seen too, have been very much on point with the crap I've been dealing with. So I see you post those on the Discord server. I'm just like, crap.
Yeah, because I did my rune pull today, and then I had like the Kenaz rune in reverse, and I had the Ansus in the regular position it was. But then like I had the So Willow rune that was like turned upside down. So I'm trying to figure out what that's supposed to symbolize for me this week.
I've never done reversals on runes simply because they're an alphabet. That's kind of the way they've been throughout mundane human history, and it never made sense to me to do reversals on those. Reversals on tarot cards. I had a lady who learned tarot from me. and I would point her in all kinds of different directions. But she started doing reversals before I did, and I was like, I need to step up my game. That's just I need to do that. So I started doing that, and now I'm way more comfortable with it than I used to. But for some reason, it just never made sense to do it with the runes. And I mean, no disrespect to anyone who does them. You know, it just never made sense for me to do it. But I can say honestly, the past couple of runes have been really interesting. I mean, the last one before Burkano started out with Wunyo. And when I put that up on my board, I just wrote in all caps victory under it. But you don't stop at your victory. You have to defend it, and you have to keep going. And that I think that's that kind of driven desire for that kind of thing could also make you your own worst enemy. The constant need to win, you know.
So that's my question then. With all of this, like reoccurring themes and things like that, I think it's a perfect time to interject that. Do you think that some of the reoccurring process relates to the inability to resolve the issue at hand, to come to a conclusion about what it is this message is supposed to convey to you, and then eventually how to overcome it?
Well, let's look at the thing that got mentioned before when I talked about why can't we get an investigation on stuff like this, and pride. In a single word, if I had to sum it up in a single word, pride. You know, what was that movie, Pulp Fiction, where Marcellus Wallace is talking to Bruce Willis's character, and he's like, you know, in the third, you might feel this slight sting. That's pride messing with you. You know, forget pride. Pride only hurts. In the fifth, you go down. And he pays him quite well to do that. So making sure that pride is kept in check sometimes, because, you know, pride can be a great thing. We're all proud of who we are, where we come from, hopefully where we're going. But then we can see the opposite of that pride, where it's so much pride that it has to be intrusive onto others. You know, our pride is just going to be everyone else's problem now. So that's why when people ask me, you know, about my religion or something else, I set that one thing. Okay, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to send you some sources, but here's the thing: I'm not looking to change your mind. So you're not on the hook. I'm not looking for a convert. You're going to be fine. Just enjoy the Edda's stories, if nothing else, you know, and just kind of let it go from there. Because I figure it this way: if they want more, they'll come back, and if not, maybe they just read some cool stories, and we could talk about that too. You know, like, oh, did you check out this part of, you know, Thor and Odin talking shit to each other from across the river? Yes, it's the funniest thing I've ever read.
I'm just now picturing that vine of the "What's your name, Tony? Fuck you, Tony. What's your name, Ezekiel? Fuck you, Ezekiel." That just Thor and Odin now. That immediately popped in my head.
I say that reminds me of the back and forth in South Park. I'm not your buddy, guy.
We
buddy.
lost Vine and we got TikTok. Damn it.
Oh.
One of my favorite stories in the Norse Eddas was the story about Loki when he was talking shit on all the gods and goddesses.
Oh,
and
yeah, the Locusetta, yeah.
He
just went through roasting them. And that's an example of pride, too, because he was so full of pride that he accidentally let slip that he was the one that orchestrated Baldur's death. And then he was like, oh, shit. Realizing where he was, and then he had to bolt. And everybody was after him.
Yeah, and then he became a salmon, but then, like, he thought, oh, I'm clever, I'm a salmon, nobody's gonna find me. And then, like, all the other guys find him, and they said, like, oh, nice try, motherfucker, now we're gonna bind you in a cave.
I think that's the perfect segue to get into hard out-of-body experiences. I know that we did a lot of in-depth talking about the dream sequence and things to that effect, but has anybody had a legit out-of-body experience, and anybody working with doing it regularly? or taking control of that.
Like,
Oh,
just the time I died at 19, very briefly. That was that. I don't remember much of it, to be honest with you. I remember this. This is what I remember. I was at a party. It was going to be one of those all weekend kind of things. Friday night, got drunk. Saturday morning, hair of the dog. I'm 19 years old. It's cold outside. I just want to get warm. And as I recall later being told, all these bottles, you put them all away in 2 days, and I was like, Jesus. But I needed to pee. All the bathrooms at the place were occupied, so I was like, I'm gonna go outside. Throw on keep in mind, all I'm wearing is my jeans and my leather jacket. I go outside. I spin the top off. This is why I can't drink vodka anymore. I spin the top off a bottle of vodka, and I'm going on a tree, and that's it. That's all I remember. Apparently, someone inside was like, he's been out there a little while. They went to check on me, and they found me just laying back on the ground. The bottle's already like been rolled off and half spilled. So there's my alcohol abuse story. And they realized he's not doing good. So they run me to the hospital. I woke up and scared the shit out of a nurse. And she was not prepared because I had been declared absolutely dead. And I come to and I'm like, I'm going to tell y'all something. If you've never done it, the dying's the easy part. Coming back absolutely hurts. I mean, absolutely. You feel everything. And I'm like, where the fuck am I? I look down, and for some reason, I've got my favorite Megadeth t-shirt still on, but it's been just completely cut down the middle. So lost my favorite Megadeth t-shirt, unfortunately. But apparently the jacket was still there, and so was everything else except maybe my boots, because I didn't have those on at the time. I'm like, you think they could have put my boots on? But yeah, that's probably the closest I've been to an out of. I didn't lift up, look down, see myself. I didn't get to experience any of that I recall. But things got a little weird, or started getting super weird after that. So, not sure if that was the turning point for me or what. I do hear OB stories a lot, and they fascinate the hell out of me.
Oh yeah, I've really wanted to do this because I feel like that was part of my calling to the craft. Is when I was younger, it started out as what I thought was a reoccurring dream, but later through my studies, I basically realized that no, you're traveling on the astral plane, and you're doing it regularly, and you're doing it at such a consistency that it's second nature to you. Um, so long story short, I am deathly afraid of heights, and I don't like being, high up flying. I don't do roller coasters, nothing like that. But when I would have this dream, or what I thought was a dream, I would get up out of my bed. I would see myself in the bed. I would go to my window. I would crawl out of the window and jump off of my second story roof. And instead of falling like I thought I would, I floated, and I wasn't scared. And I would see everything. And just as they describe, you can walk your entire neighborhood. So I was a child mostly. I didn't have anywhere to go or anything really to do. So I would just walk around the neighborhood astrally, and just like they say, it's a snap. As soon as you kind of realize what you're doing and what you're seeing isn't really a dream, you just boom, and you're right back in bed. Now, as a child, you think to yourself, you're crazy. That's impossible. None of this can happen. But when you look back and you're like, no, I saw every street light. I saw cars that were moving. I saw people. And I thought it was so interesting, Hunter, when you were telling your story, that you didn't recognize the individuals either, because even though I didn't recognize the people, I knew they were people. They, they resembled humans. They weren't shadow people. They weren't crazy.
Yeah, they were
people.
humans. They were humans. I could see like their faces and what they were, but there were no one I recognized or no one like from the area. If I did recognize them, I'm like, why are we all like outside of all the places that this being took me to? It's in the middle of the road in front of my house. It somehow decided to bring all these people to me and just plot me there with everyone. And I was because I never actually, when Amanda asked this earlier, when I was sitting on the couch, it phased in through my parents' front door, physically picked me up. So I felt it as it picked me up, holding me under its arm, and then phased with me back through the door to the middle of the street in like lightning speed.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And then another thing, because I just remembered this thought, and I had to look at the movie because I forgot. So Nicolas Cage did a movie in 2009 called Knowing.
Yeah.
And it was about this woman got visions of the end of the world, writing down all the dates and stuff. Well, I'm going to spoil it because this doesn't happen till the end. But when these weird, mysterious people take the kids away to save them from the oncoming destruction, when their bodies change, they're these clear, faceless humanoid figures. So basically, if you made those beings completely solid and mirror-like, those are my guys that I saw. And sometimes I wonder, does Hollywood actually know about some of this crap that we experience sometimes? And like what Raven said, the pride is keeping us from saying it, or they're sworn to secrecy kind of deal. Because like there's things that people experience that they just aren't able to tell. Probably.
I don't think that's pride so much. I mean, think about it. When we're children, we tend to go like mentally here. We call it what you want, imagination or whatever. We tend to just go into other worlds,
very easily, I might add.
Daydreaming, playing with action figures, dolls, whatever it is you have. Hell,
playing tabletop games.
Playing tabletop games, right? I mean, dude, I've got like buckets of little green toy soldiers because they were cheap, and I'm gonna use them for this. So
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got the BX version on the way whenever that's ready. So the version for Old School Essentials, I got that one too. So in case they don't want to go OD&D rules, we can go BX. It's cool. I know that system inside and out. I'm good with it. But I was like, why would I spend so much money on like bolt action when those little green army men always just did the same thing, and my dad being ex-military, he'd get on the floor and play around with me and be like, what do you want to do with this group over here? What do you want to do with that group? Little did I know he's teaching me tactics, and I'm just playing, man. This is like G.I. Joe to me. And I'm off in that world, or I'm off with the Thundercats or the Silverhawks or He-Man, whatever. Little do we realize that we as adults, we just beat that out of children constantly.
We truly do, and then we're like, oh, we're better than them.
Thinking
It's
about
like,
it. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Absolutely, Erica. Yep. Nope. I think you had a good point there.
Oh yeah, when adults beat like children's imaginations out of them, it's like the adults are like, oh, because I've been through enough darkness in my life and traumatic life events, I know better, so I'm just gonna bully my kid and make my kid feel horrible for having an imagination. It's like, that's not the kid's problem. That is your issue, and don't you dare act all selfish, entitled, and manipulative when somebody like myself tells you that straight up, because I'm speaking the truth.
Or the excuse that this doesn't work in the real world. It's like, well, the kid isn't operating in the real world. You can prepare that kid for the real world, but stop blunting the edge in their minds that they have for that level of creativity. Because I ran across another YouTube short recently, doom scrolling again, where the narrator was saying creativity is all about play. If you don't play and you're overthinking it, you're not creating. It's okay to have a set of rules as like a structure, but past a certain point, you're just beating the creativity out of it. You're beating the mental vacation away. It's like packing way too much for your vacation. You're going on vacation. Pack what you need. Go live a little.
Right.
Wing it.
Even when people bring like ice cream to my counter. They're bringing like 2-3 things of ice cream. Oh, I'm not eating all that by myself, and I'm the first to just pause and go, look, I need you to listen to me. I'm not judging you if you eat every one of these in the next 2 days. I literally don't care, because you're one of the people that's probably living a little. That's more than most. So eat up. I don't care. It's cool. In fact, I applaud you for doing it. Yeah.
So I actually get to talk about the thing that I'm known for. When we talk about TTRPGs, but this one ties in. There's 2 games that come to my mind when I think about this stuff when we're talking about stuff like this: Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green. Delta Green does it a little more because Call of Cthulhu is more basically like the Cthulhu mythos and the Eldritch. Delta Green is more about the supernatural and the mysterious, but explaining the paranormal stuff. Because in Delta Green, you're playing as basically Men in Black type figures, but all your characters you're playing as have dealt with this before they got brought onto the Delta Green agency. And it's interesting to hear the stories, because it's like a lot of it's like folklore stuff they dealt with, and then it's like things they can't explain. But part of me sits back and wonders how much of this that people put into these characters is actually going about stuff that they've experienced, but this is just the only way they know how to be able to kind of explore it themselves.
Well, think about what we were saying earlier about shadow people. Lovecraft wrote about night gaunts, these completely black figures that were almost gargoyle-like, but definitely humanoid. And they're even in stuff like, well, here, I'll grab this one. I think, nope, not that one. This one right here.
The great old
That's
one.
not what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a little solo or co-op game, which is why I bought it, because if I don't have a Call of Cthulhu table going, it's like, hey, I grab this and play. But this one, the night gaunts do actually appear. If I find a picture of them, I'll definitely show them off, because they are. They're not something I want to run into. I'll put it that way.
In that same vein, I do kind of want to open it up to just kind of the idea of like children at play and being honest and kind of bringing that to the table, right? Like, do you think that kids are easy to talk about it and kind of articulate it in such a way that adults usually don't pay attention to them because they themselves were told it was not true?
Well, think about this. How many movies has been made now where it's always revolves to the kid is seeing something that the parents just can't see, and they think the kid's going crazy, and then at the worst opportune moment, this thing appears. Like it either kidnaps a kid, takes over the kid, and like I'm thinking, like I think it was a Jabberwock was one where where it's this fairy tale, or what's the one? I think it's like The Conjuring or something, and there's that crooked man and the nun and all that. It's like, so you got to think, dude. So I would not put it past, and of course you got kids that, of course, we all probably have imaginary friends growing up with her. So I would not put it past that kids are able to see things that we as adults probably either just ignore or refuse to see or just can't see because the thing doesn't want to make itself known to us, but it will make itself known to the kids because kids are usually more innocent and have more life to them. And that's probably what attracts these otherworldly beings to them the most, if those otherworldly beings actually do exist.
Did anybody
notice too?
Go ahead, Erica. No.
When it comes to like those entities attacking children, it's normal by default in society standards that those children are mentally ill. And the first response is put them on medications and lock up in the psych ward. Why don't you give the child the chance to explain themselves and maybe give the child a chance instead of like automatically making an assumption, oh, you're mentally ill. Oh, you need to be put on medications. Oh, you need to be locked up. You're crazy. And I'm not going to listen to you because I know best.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how many of us actually went to our parents and said anything about what we experienced? And if you did, what was their response?
I never shared my dream story with my parents ever. Like,
I'm 10X. You did not do that. That was a good way to get put on Ritalin.
It might be a generational thing, though, too. I think we're almost all the same age. So that's just not a thing that the boomers wanted to hear.
Definitely.
You
No.
know,
No,
my
and I
parents for sure
wonder.
did not have room for imagination in their house because they had too much reality to deal with themselves. And so even though they're happy enough to leave us to our own devices, that's exactly what happened. We were on our own. So, it was figure it out, kid.
Does that explain, though, our independent relationship with these entities and how they interact with us, though? From everybody coming from such a different background, it seems like we're all dealing with the same force, whatever that entity is, taking different shapes in different ways and talking to people in different methods because subconsciously I think we all operate kind of the same way as humans, so to reach us while we're not paying attention seems to be the universe's like default way to kind of talk, right?
Well, think of what we still have imagination as adults. Thank goodness. We still possess that, but again, it can be done with our well-being in mind, whether that's mental, physical, other or spiritual. On the other hand, there are times where someone's imagination will become everyone else's problem too. And we see it all the time on Twitter. Oh, I'm voting this way because if I don't, I won't be able to express myself. And that's one of the things I posted about today. I'm like, you need someone's permission to express yourself. You didn't seem to need it like 8 years ago. What changed?
Or my favorite of all time on Instagram or like Twitter or any type of social media. It's like the Z's or Zims with they're like morbidly obese. They got like the colored hair. They got all the piercings on their face and they got to have some pronoun. Or they have like an anime character as their bio. It's like, can I see your face unless you cannot show your real face because you have crazy ass parents who will probably attack you.
That just made me think about so I've always been a fan of the Insane Clown Posse, and I've always loved their albums when it comes to the Dark Carnival. I love the now I'm not gonna say like the Dark Carnival's like it doesn't exist. I'm not here to say that. It's up in the air if you believe it or not. But I love the concept because it's all about like you die, you're now at this carnival, and then you're facing all the sins you've done, you're punished for it, and then do you go to heaven or are you going to get straight to hell like you deserve? And so listening to all the Joker Card albums, and I listened to them talk about like the Dark Carnival, some of the stuff that they would focus on like certain aspects of the carnival. It's always been amazing, especially like some of the concepts. Like you got the Amazing Juggle Brothers. It's a candle. These two heads come out and they juggle all your sins. So it starts like 1 ball, 2 ball, and then they just keep juggling. If one even drops, you go straight to hell. And then there's just like a little the riddle box. It's a cranking box. You turn the handle, and you're basically taking a gander with your life. Is like, are you going to go to heaven or are you just going to go to hell? And then like all the different rides, like the Hall of Illusions is one of my favorite songs by the Insane Clown Posse, where you're strapped to a chair, you're going on a ride, you see what your life could have been, and then you see what your life actually was, and then you die like you deserve if you were that bad of a person. So, but I also.
Or even the song Echo Side, which
I love that one. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Just one person, and there is backwards masking in that song.
Yeah.
The problem is when I finally got adept at Audacity, I think it was the program. I actually took that one track, snipped it out, and reversed it just to hear what they would actually say. There was nothing in that message they needed to hide at all.
No.
it was a ton of advice like, why would you want to live this way? What good is it doing you? And it's basically twisted. It's madrox monoxide, and they're talking to this character, and all this horror is going on around him, and they're right there, and they're speaking like this, but he can't understand it. Like they are trying to convey this message to him, and he cannot understand it. the dude loses his arms, he loses his legs, and he thinks he's escaped. He rolls in right into the front doors of it.
I think the greatest thing about that entire career of ICP was the following that they got and the mass projection of the ideas, right? Because so many people hopped on the bandwagon thinking one type of way. When the last Joker card dropped and everything was kind of revealed in retrospect to the audience, individuals really started thinking about the way that they were living, the things that they were participating in. And I think that fits really well into our conversation, considering we're talking about ideas that really manifest themselves in our daily lives through just a reoccurring message or a reoccurring action or something that, like Amanda said earlier, starts very young and very innocent and then kind of works its way into something more complicated and meaningful. And Raven, you hit the nail on the head. People are trying to keep us from this and from this knowledge because it helps us understand who we are as a human race and how to interact better with each other.
So much so that the FBI has labeled Juggalos a gang. And on top of that, you really don't want to have
guys, we're on all lists.
On top of that, you really don't want a Hatchet Man tattoo if you're in prison, because that out here, you're probably just a Juggalo. In there, you're a target because they think you're probably a pedophile.
Yeah, very bad things were spread about the Juggalos and the entire process after the fact, right? They were cool when it was all, blood and guts and gore. And then, when it was really meaningful.
Minor correction, they were all cool when it was blood, guts, fingers, and toes.
Blood, guts, fingers, and toes. Sitting front row at the Wicked Show.
Well, guys, I hate to cut us short, and we lost Erica, but we've been live now for about an hour and 11 minutes. And for about an hour and 11 minutes, Rumbles told me my stream's expired. We're still live, but
what is up with the stream expired?
Still better than StreamYard.
It is. We're definitely going to say that right here. Rumble Studio is way better than StreamYard.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about StreamYard.
I was waiting for someone to say it. I was waiting for someone to say it.
Well, I don't know if you saw me post about it, Raven, but I was supposed to be on a live stream yesterday, and I couldn't because StreamYard was fucking up on my end so badly. Like, I tried everything, moving around, getting to a different internet connection, would not work on my end, and I had to step out from doing the live stream. Works fine for all the other guys, but it was not one to work for me, and it was so pissed off the high end.
Were you hardwired in, or were you Wi-Fiing it?
I was Wi-Fiing it, here's the thing: I never had an issue with it doing Wi-Fi before. This was the first time I ever had a major issue with it Wi-Fi, because with the Nerdcognito guys, I've Wi-Fi'd in with them, no issues with them at all on StreamYard.
Yeah,
so
definitely hardwire. It's a lot more reliable. That's why I'm doing all this from my desktop, because I'm like, this is just way more reliable.
Absolutely. Does anybody want to plug anything before we go? Erica, yes, ma'am.
Oh, it was about StreamYard and also relying on yourself when the world goes to shit. Because I've heard about StreamYard, and a lot of YouTubers that I used to watch, they would always use StreamYard, but I'm like, what's the hype about it? Like, I prefer Rumble streaming over StreamYard. I don't get the hype.
Really, it's about the features, and on top of that, it was so easy to use. I mean, there's really the ease of use and the features. That was really the selling point. But after I saw Double D's post today, I was like, oh hell no, I better go check that. And I'm not kidding. I was maybe a couple days away from being charged that $45. I would have been absolutely livid if I've been paying the $25 a month, no problem. But then after a while, I was like, do I really need it? Well, I'm going through all that in my head. And I'm like, oh, it's $25 a month, and I've got all these features, so I'm good. And then when it up to $45, and I'm like, oh, what else are they giving us? Oh, nothing. Okay. cancel that. I don't stream enough for that.
Bye. See you later.
Sayonara.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're gonna stick it out with Rumble. I really hope that they continue to put their money where their mouth is. They have been wonderful to me personally. They've really upped their game. So, we're gonna stick here and use YouTube as our secondary because I just like pissing off YouTube. Sorry.
I'm
Same
probably
here. I
going
hate
to have to go
YouTube.
back to OBS, but that's going to take some working. So I do have Filmora, so I can literally just set up a camera, film myself, and then run it through there. But I
Absolutely.
kind of like just firing up this thing and then going to it.
Going
But,
to town.
I mean, as soon as I find my
Okay.
battery charger for my DSLR, I'm going to start setting up the green screen and doing that again.
Nice.
So who knows how
Very
that's going to turn out?
All
Okay,
right.
I'm gonna go soon, so I just want to let people know something. On my not my Instagram, but my Rumble and my YouTube. I know I've not been posting videos, but I've just been so focused on work and like personal family issues, so I've not had any time for that. But if I'm able to do it next year, I'm gonna go back to doing more like pagan, Norse pagan witchcraft stuff, and I'm gonna go back to like criticizing Marxist and leftist pagans and heathens and how they're just screwing everything up. And I'm going to go back to that. But also, before I go, I'm let everybody know something. It doesn't matter if the world goes to shit. It doesn't matter if Marxists or leftist pagans and heathens make you feel like shit. Don't worry about them and keep speaking your truth, because if what you're speaking is offending them so much, that means like you struck a nerve in them. And when they react to you, they're telling you indirectly that you're right.
Yep. Whenever you're getting flack, you're right over the target. Go ahead and drop the
Yes,
ball.
indeed. I got to go now, so I definitely will see you guys next time. So
Yes,
Good seeing you,
indeed.
Erica.
I am sure I definitely will come back. Take care.
Bye.
I'll see you
Thank
guys
you
next
so
time.
much.
Later.
We
Bye.
loved having you. We are right behind her. As a matter of fact, TT RPGer, please let the people know, where are you at these days and what do you cover?
Yes, so I am Hunter, aka the Ultra American TTRPGer is what I go by. My handle for my X is at Ultra TTRPGER, and it's because I love my country and I love tabletop games, so that's why I go by that. And the TTRPG hobby hates me that I love America so much. So you can always find me on there. You can find me here on Rumble, also same name, at the Ultra American TTRPGer, where if every now and then I'll come up, I'll do like a little topic, TTRPG related topic. I may have a guest on, I may not. Just depends on the mood I'm in. And yeah, you can just follow all my rants, raves, and whatever I like to talk about on X. I just posted up a session 2 recap for a campaign I've been running on Shadow Dark. Got to have a character crushed a griffin's nuts to kill it for the final blow. So that's what's going on with that game. So
Love it. Excellent.
so yeah, you can always find me on there. And then I just to let people know really quick, I will always live stream here on Rumble, and then eventually, if you want to find me on YouTube, I will upload up there when I stop procrastinating and actually do the re-upload for it.
Secondary station. And Raven, I know that you're not live streaming always, but you do a lot of posting on X. So, where the people can find you.
Yeah, the spelling of my username is the problem. I probably need to change that. Right now it's at ULFHEDRENGR. I hope everybody got that. But if not,
Wolfgar.
you can go and check me out on ravenwolfgar.substack.com. Or if you're into my more spiritual stuff, I have been posting notes to this one lately. thegroveofodin.substack.com. I'm also there. I just haven't really been active lately. There have been some things going on. Right now, I'm just not at liberty to talk about them. And the only reason that is because if I start talking now, I'm going to say something really stupid. And it's gonna cause all kind of shit. And I'm like, nah,
It's not
right now. So I'm just going to kind of hold that. And just the thing about the Grove of Odin is it's mostly geared toward getting our group, or pagans in general, a piece of land where they can go to have a place of physical worship, a place where like even I could be buried if I pass on. That's really the two major points. So we're currently working toward that. We found out Give, Send, Go. We were going to use them. Everything was fine for a little while. And then they shut down the entire campaign, called up one of our directors who set it up, and literally prayed to him, which was super weird. After emailing him and telling him that they couldn't allow that because it offended people in the community. So I'm like, okay, Give, Send, Go bent the knee, literally.
Even I say that's cringe as a Christian.
That was super cringe. I was like,
that was
very sad. Very,
What?
very sad.
I know. I was like, wait,
Unfortunately.
hold up. Okay, did the people who complained have anything to do with it? Obviously not. It's not for them. You know, if it was like, I don't know, if it was just to give kind of an example here, if it was Islamic people who said, no, this offends us, it has nothing to do with you. You know, just whoever it was, just go fuck off, because it had nothing to do with you. I know that's not very ministerly of me, but I don't care. Okay. Shadow King, what's going on?
Yes, thank you, Shadow King, for letting us know that you are in the chat, and we are so glad that you enjoyed the show. Miss Amanda, I know that you don't have much social media, but I know that the people can find you with me most of the time on Strange Bedfellas, and we bring you in as a consultant all the time. So
if anybody out there watching or whoever comes to the panel feels like they need to reach out to me independently, they can go through you. You have all my contact information, so that kind of stuff can be coordinated. But yeah, I don't do this. So I get on the social media, but I don't do the social media myself because of my own issues. I have issues, so.
I have that CD too.
Yeah. I have too many issues. I wouldn't want to start something that I couldn't really finish.
You're right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us in the panel tonight. You guys were awesome. And on that note, guys, we will catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, y'all.
You too.